Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, April 15th, and this is virtual lunch number 541. Our guest today is Julia Lane, the Director of Outside Counsel Management and Legal Transformation at Epiq, and this is part of our April series on metrics and successful transformation with Epiq. Hi, Julie. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just want to first compliment you on having one of the coolest titles I have heard. Tell us about your background and the work that you do at Epiq.
Sure. Well, I am a lawyer by training. The reason I went to law school is because right out of college, I worked for Big Four and I was in international tax. And while that sounds incredibly boring, it wasn't to me, surprisingly. I expected it to be a torturous, just monotonous, terrible experience, but I really found it exciting. But I felt like there wasn't enough information there for me. I wanted more information. That drove me to make the decision to go to law school. And all throughout law school, I was convinced I was going to be a tax lawyer. I clerked at a tax firm, boutique tax firm. I took all the special classes. And as it turns out, I did not want to be a tax lawyer. So I decided to focus some time on family. I took some time off, and lo and behold, when I went back into work, I found myself working for an e-discovery vendor. And I was a document review attorney for a while, a project attorney, in fact, during the recession. And then I was promoted to full-time, and I was a document review manager for some years. And my role started to evolve when I started working with some clients on some more advanced discovery. And it was coming to mind that we focus so much attention as vendors as competing against other vendors. But I realized that in the document review space, in the e-discovery space, the real competitors were not other vendors, they were actually law firms. And we were seeing that law firms were doing a lot of this work. And we thought, well, why is it that our clients prefer that they do the work that we can do faster and better? And we need to figure out what the answer to those questions are and then start to go after some of that business. So that's how my role started to evolve into more of the spend management and spend solution area. So here we are today. Legal spend is focused on legal spend data, which primarily is going to come from e-billing, right? E-billing systems are the databases that contain so many points of interest for us to reference when we talk about outside counsel management. But spend management is the beginning of OCM. It's where you start to look at the patterns and practices of billing by law firms, but not just how the firms are billing, also how they're staffing. How are they selecting their staff? How are they utilizing their staff? And you can start to understand and piece together how their system of values comports with different clients and whether or not they fit within that framework of that ideal firm that the client's really looking for to do their work. And we have so many different ways of measuring today. We have so many different data points that are available to us through the legal spend data that are not just focused on rates, rate changes, expenses, and things like that. We also have information about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have data available to us to see how different tiers of employees are being utilized. We can start to extrapolate out the various goals that we have as organizations and how we want to select our firms. The culture is shifting from being a purely relationship-based networking type of field in law to being a lot more metrics-based, data-driven. We have a lot more people in the mix now, right? There are a lot more participants in the legal field than just lawyers now. We have IT professionals, we have data scientists, we have accountants, we have procurement specialists and finance. All these people are coming together to make decisions. And so not everyone is going to see it the same way as someone who's been with big law, right? And so we have to move away from that mentality of the big law club, and you're not in it. The point is, if you don't come from that background, you crave transparency that you don't have. And so you're going to go looking for that in different places. And that's where the data side of it becomes so important. It becomes the single source of truth for you, whether you're on the finance side or you're on the legal side. And so I would say to leaders, the most important thing that you can do is provide transparency, because There's never a negative outcome when you have transparency. We have some clients who utilize their matter management systems really effectively. Anytime there's an update on the work product, it goes straight into the matter management system. And some of those are really great at just notifying automatically the recipient, hey, there's a change that's been made on your document, or you can send a quick message through the system saying, I modified clause XYZ on the contract. And those systems can be super effective, not just in the actual communication, but warehousing and keeping all of that communication in a singular instance so that you don't lose the context of when things happened and who did them, and you actually have the work product at your fingers. So that's one recommendation, is really utilize to the maximum extent that you can any matter management system you're using. Typically, they have really good tools for that. No one wants to have to implement a change. It's tedious. You have to convince a lot of people to do things that they don't necessarily want to do. It feels very administrative. It adds to the work pile, at least initially, when you're making a change, even if it's for the better and even if it's for the sake of economy and efficiency. Up front, you're going to have to make an investment to make a change. People don't necessarily like to adopt new technologies. They don't like to lose their old technology because there's a fear that they're going to lose something in the mix there. So resistance to change just on a human level is real. I would say the other force that stands in the way of some of the transformation is just that people are afraid of upsetting their relationships. They don't want to have to go to their law firm and say, well, my procurement people said that your rate is too high. My procurement people said that you have too many people staffed on this project. You need to scale this down. We should have half the number of people on it. It's just not working. They don't want to say that to their contacts because they like the work they do and they don't want to lose that relationship and that trust. And learning how to navigate through that is really difficult for people who have been working with the same firms and the same vendors for 20, 30 years. You bring the data into it to try to depersonalize it a little bit. It isn't about the relationship, it's just about the economics, but that's not entirely true. There's still that overlying human element where even though the data says this, I'm really afraid so-and-so is just not going to want to work with me anymore. It's not just the lawyers, right? I mean, it's an organizational issue. Nobody likes making these changes. Even if you tell them, I promise you a month from now or 2 months from now, this is going to make your life easier. They don't want that immediate hit of having to spend an extra hour or two having to learn how to navigate a new piece of software or changes in the existing software upgrades, whatever it is. So yeah, it is. It's an issue, but the way that that's addressed is pointing out to them, okay, well, we can keep putting this off and we can keep putting off having the metrics you're asking for. But every month we do that, we're losing time and we're sinking costs. So at what point have we lost enough time and have we lost enough money for it to be worth it to you to start adopting these changes? And the thing that's nice is you can show those numbers in your dashboards, right? You've got access to the data that shows you your own internal efficiencies, your own expenditures, your own cost savings opportunities that disappear by virtue of the fact that you're just not able to implement. A lot of new territory that we're covering right now. So I would say the number one quality that I look for in people is just a flexible mindset. You have to be able to pivot from one thing to another very, very quickly and not be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen because we're in new territory and a lot of this is very experimental right now. Our clients actually appreciate that. And as long as we're upfront with them and we tell them, hey, this is a new thing for us, is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. It's new for us too, right? You have to start from somewhere. And so it's better to build that partnership and have that partnership mentality right from the very beginning, and then just fail often, fail fast, and then get it right as soon as possible.
Julie Lane, everybody. Well done. Really fun conversation. I'm grateful to you for sharing your insights and, of course, to the Epiq team for supporting this series on metrics and successful transformation. I hope everyone has a great weekend and a wonderful holiday.